Imagine this. It is 1958. You are 7 years old, and your father has just told you that you are leaving home. Not leaving the neighborhood, not moving to a new school down the road, leaving the entire country, leaving Nigeria, leaving everything you have ever known. The warm red dust beneath your bare feet, the sound of your mother's voice calling you inside for dinner, the chaotic, beautiful energy of Ikorodu market where traders yell prices and fabric sellers stack Ankara cloth to the ceiling, and flying across an ocean to a boarding school in Wales, a cold grey country you cannot find on a map, a place where nobody speaks Yoruba, a place where nobody looks like you. You are one of 52 children. Your father, Chief Eli Ogbara, has 8 wives. Your mother is the first. In a household that big, love is not measured in attention, it is measured in who gets chosen. And your father chose you. Out of all 52 children, only you and your younger sister were sent abroad for education. Only 2 out of 52. That tells you something about how your father saw you. But here is the part the world never talks about. When you came home from Wales and told your father you wanted to study law, he said no. Flat out. No discussion. He did not believe a woman needed a law degree. He believed a woman needed practical skills, something she could use to earn money quickly and reliably. So instead of the courtroom, he sent you to secretarial school at Pitman Central College in London. Imagine that. The girl who crossed an ocean alone at 7. The girl who survived years at a boarding school in the Welsh countryside where nobody looked like her. Nobody spoke her language, and nobody understood where she came from. That girl was told she could not pursue the career she wanted, not because she was not smart enough, but because she was born a woman. Most people would have let that become the story. The closed door, the limitation, the reason they never tried again. But Folorunso did not argue. She did not rebel. She took the secretarial certificate, flew back to Lagos, and walked into her first job in 1974 as an executive secretary. She sat behind a desk, answered phones, and watched carefully. Because this girl had exactly 86,400 seconds every single day. And she was not going to waste a single one waiting for somebody else to decide what she was worth. Her name is Folorunso Alakija, and this is episode 19 of 86,400 Stories. This is the story of the Nigerian woman who outplayed Shell and Chevron. For 11 years, Folorunso worked in banking. She climbed from executive secretary to the corporate affairs department at International Merchant Bank. She learned how money moved, how deals were structured, how power operated behind closed doors in Nigeria. But she was restless. There was something inside her that a desk could not contain, a creative energy that spreadsheets could not satisfy. So in 1985, she made a move that nobody around her understood. She quit her banking career and flew to London to study fashion design at the Central School of Fashion and the American College. A woman in her mid-30s with a husband and children, leaving a stable income in one of the most unpredictable economies on the planet, to go and learn how to cut fabric and stitch seams. Her colleagues at the bank thought she had lost her mind. Her friends thought it was a phase. But Folorunso saw what none of them could see. She saw that Nigerian women were desperate for fashion that celebrated their own culture. Not copies of Western designers, but something authentically, unapologetically African. She came home and launched Supreme Stitches from a 3-bedroom apartment in Surulere, Lagos. Not a boutique on Victoria Island, not a fancy atelier. A bedroom converted into a cutting room. Now here is where the friction enters the story. In Nigeria, in the late 1980s, was a country run by military generals. The social elite were the wives of officers, politicians, and oil men. If you wanted to build a fashion empire, you did not need a magazine cover. You needed one client, the right client. Folorunso got her. Mariam Babangida, the First Lady of Nigeria, the most powerful, most visible, most photographed woman in the entire country. Supreme Stitches became the label that dressed the First Lady. And once the First Lady wore your designs, every woman in high society followed. Within 2 years, Folorunso was the most sought-after designer in Nigeria. She became president of the Fashion Designers Association and a household name. But she was already looking past the hem of every dress she stitched. She was building her negative reservoir, storing every dismissal, every man who told her fashion was as far as a woman should go, every whisper that she was nothing without her connections. She was saving all of it because she knew it would become fuel for something far bigger. The question was never whether Folorunso would make it in fashion. The question was what she would do once fashion was no longer big enough to hold her ambition. In 1993, something happened that would rewrite Folorunso Alakija's life and reshape the Nigerian oil industry forever. A friend of hers asked for a favor. Would Folorunso use her connections to speak with the petroleum minister about an oil lifting deal? She agreed. But when she got to the minister, she was told something that changed the direction of the conversation entirely. The government was not interested in oil lifting contracts for foreigners. They wanted Nigerians to own exploration licenses. They wanted indigenous companies to step into a sector that had been controlled entirely by Shell, Chevron, and the European oil giants for decades. And that is the moment Folorunso Alakija did what nobody expected a fashion designer to do. She applied for an oil prospecting license. Her company, favour Oil, was granted OPL 216, a 617,000-acre deep-water block located 70 miles off the coast of Nigeria in the Agbami field of the Gulf of Guinea. And here is the detail that makes this story cinematic. The detail that separates a lucky break from a masterclass in vision. That block had already been offered to BP and Statoil, two of the biggest, most technically advanced oil companies on the planet. They looked at the geological surveys, ran the numbers and said no thank you. The water was too deep, over 1,300 meters. The technology to drill at that depth barely existed yet. Financial risk was staggering. Giants looked at it, did the maths, and walked away. And a woman who had been making dresses in a Surulere bedroom 5 years earlier said yes. She partnered with Star Deepwater Petroleum, a subsidiary of Texaco, which later became Chevron, giving them 40% as a technical partner in exchange for their deepwater drilling expertise. Petrobras from Brazil also joined the venture, and together they began drilling into one of the most dangerous, most expensive, and most uncertain frontiers in the history of African oil exploration. This is what building the moat looks like. She did not just buy a license and flip it for a quick profit like dozens of other Nigerians had done with their oil blocks. She held on to it. She partnered strategically. She bet everything on the long game. While other license holders cashed out and disappeared, Folorunso dug in, literally, into the deepest water any Nigerian company had ever explored. And then they struck oil. Massive reserves. The Agbami field would go on to produce over 200,000 barrels of crude per day. That is when the real war began. The moment the world found out what was under that water, the Nigerian government turned on her. First, they seized 40% of favour Oil's remaining stake. Then they came back and took another 10%. In total, the government stripped her of 50% of the block she had legally acquired, explored, and developed. Think about that for a second. You are a woman in a male-dominated country. in the most male-dominated industry on the face of the earth. You did everything right. You followed every single rule. You took a risk that nobody else was brave enough or foolish enough to take. You bet your family's entire wealth on a block of ocean floor that the biggest oil companies on the planet had rejected. And the moment it pays off, the moment the crude starts flowing, the government walks into your office and takes half of it. No negotiation, no warning, just a letter telling you that your stake has been reduced and there is nothing you can do about it. This was her Goliath, and it was not a person. It was not a rival company trying to undercut her prices. Not a competitor. Not a rival company. The entire Nigerian government, backed by the machinery of the state, backed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, backed by presidential authority. That was the giant standing between Folorunso Alakija and everything she had built. Most people would have accepted it, taken the remaining 10% and called it a win. Thank God they were not in prison, moved on. Folorunso filed a lawsuit against the federal government of Nigeria, against the NNPC, against the system itself. And she fought that case for 12 years. 12 years of courtrooms, 12 years of government lawyers trying to bury her in paperwork, 12 years of people whispering that she should give up, take what she could and be grateful. She did not budge, not once, not for a single day across those 12 years. Her husband Modupe, a senior lawyer with decades of experience, helped build the legal arguments brick by brick. Her family stood behind her, and in 2012, the Nigerian Supreme Court ruled in her favor. The government's seizure was declared illegal and unconstitutional. Farm-for oil stake was restored. A woman from Ikorodu had taken on the full weight of the Nigerian state and won. That is what a Goliath slayer looks like. Not someone who avoids the fight, someone who walks straight into it, knowing it might take a decade and refuse to leave until the truth is on the table. Today, Folorunso Alakija sits at the center of an empire that spans oil, fashion, real estate, printing, and philanthropy. Forbes has listed her among the 100 most powerful women in the world. She became the first female chancellor of a public university in Africa when she was appointed at Osun State University. The Agbami field, the block that Shell and Chevron refused to touch, now produces hundreds of thousands of barrels per day. Her company Farm4 Oil holds a 60% stake, operating alongside Chevron and Petrobras as partners. Through the Rose of Sharon Foundation, she has funded thousands of scholarships for orphans and widows, built medical clinics across Nigeria, and empowered women whose society had written off. That is sovereignty. She did not wait for the system to include her. She built her own system, her own institutions, her own economy, her own legacy. So now I have to ask you the question. What is your excuse? Shilulshin. Folorunso Alakija was told she could not study law because she was a woman. She did not argue. She became a secretary. Then she taught herself to see opportunity where others saw only fabric and thread. She became a fashion designer who dressed the most powerful women in Nigeria. Then she walked into the most dangerous industry on earth, oil, and secured a 617,000-acre deep water block that the mightiest petroleum companies on the planet had rejected. When the Nigerian government tried to seize it from her, she did not cry. She did not negotiate. She did not accept less. She fought them in their own Supreme Court for 12 years, and she won. The friction you are feeling right now, the doubt, the closed door, the person telling you it is not your place, not your time, not your industry, that is not the end of your story. That is the opening scene. Every founder on this channel started in a room where nobody believed them. The difference is they stayed in the room long enough to prove everyone wrong. Folorunso stayed for 12 years. How long are you willing to stay? She did all of it inside the same 86,400 seconds you wake up with every single morning. Fill your negative reservoir until it turns into rocket fuel. Build your moat so wide that no government, no corporation, no system can take what you have earned. And fight for your sovereignty, because nobody's going to hand it to you. The pen is in your hands, and possibility has no postcode. See you in the next account. This has been 86,400 Stories, hosted by Mayo. Every second there is a story.